It is the 21st day of February 2024. Many thanks for making time to be with us here on The Insight on Lookuptv. On a day that President William RUTO says Kenya is now out of risk of the countries that do, or rather are at risk of sinking due to debt. That is after, of course, the end of the government retreat that was held for the past, or that has been held for the past 3 days in Naivasha. Now, alongside that is that Chief Justice Martha Koome is, of course, lamenting about how ineffective the judiciary is becoming, and of course, castigating the government over failure to obey court orders. All that in our bulletin tonight. First of all, let's have a look at what's making headlines tonight.
Tonight on The Insight,
we have pursued a turnaround strategy focused on increasing our tax revenue and reducing both spending and the rate of debt accumulation.
Kenya has paid $1.5 billion of Eurobond debt, rescuing it from the debt defaulters list, says President William RUTO. Chief Justice Martha Koome now says judiciary independence is at stake, highlighting disobedience of court orders and inadequate resources. We take a look at what the new amendments mean in the controversial affordable housing bill.
Welcome to the program. I am Ian Keitani, and our sign language interpreter is Josephine Oko. Remember, you can watch this particular bulletin live on our Facebook and YouTube pages at Lookuptv. Let's start our bulletin now. And President William RUTO has said that Kenya has been rescued from the loan defaulters list after the recent payment of the $1.5 billion of Eurobond debt. Addressing the nation after the National Executive Retreat in Naivasha, Nakuru County, RUTO noted that his government is keen on addressing the national debt, highlighting intentions to increase tax revenue and reduce expenditures to control the rise of debt.
According to President William RUTO, it's a relief for Kenya after making a partial payment of 1.5 billion of the 2 billion 2014 Eurobond, which was due on June 24, 2024.
Yesterday marked a significant financial milestone for Kenya as we successfully settled the buyback of a substantial part of the $2 billion 2014 Eurobonds that were scheduled to mature on the 24th of June 2024 by paying $1.5 billion raised on 12th February 2024.
RUTO added that this strategy helped boost investor confidence, significantly strengthening the Kenyan shillings against the US dollar from 162 shillings to 144 and substantially lowering the debt ceiling.
Investor confidence has been significantly enhanced, resulting in the appreciation of the Kenya shilling against the US dollar from an average of 162 shillings to an average of 142 shillings at the moment. In turn, this has reduced our overall debt by Kenya shillings 722 billion and also reduced our debt service costs by Kenya shillings 195 billion over the next years.
The president continued to express hope for the economic stability, emphasizing his main focus on ensuring job opportunities for Kenyans. President RUTO has been actively seeking employment opportunities for Kenyan graduates abroad, with agreements already made to send 2,500 nurses to Saudi Arabia.
Our economy is on a trajectory that will create more jobs and more wealth, finance investment in goods and services, and usher this nation into the era of inclusive growth.
President William RUTO also stated that Kenya has now been removed from the list of nations at risk of defaulting on their debt, underscoring the nation's strong direction in debt management.
I can now confidently say Kenya is no longer in the list of the countries that run the risk of debt default, thanks to the collective effort that has been done by my team at the Treasury and by the whole of government approach.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has warned that the independence of the judiciary in the country is on the line due to acute shortage of funding from the exchequer, vilification and criticism of judges, and utter disobedience of court orders. Koome says inadequate funding in particular has negatively affected the operations of the judiciary, with the arm of government forced to bear a huge backlog as the cases are heard on a priority basis. Henry Tende tells us more.
The country is staring at a dysfunctional judiciary and a collapse of judicial independence if key government officials continue to interfere with the running of this arm of the government. Chief Justice Martha Koome has warned persistent threats on judges coupled with unfair criticism and blatant disobedience of court orders are a direct threat to independence of the judiciary.
We took cognizance of the continued threats to the independence of the judiciary through verification and criticism of judges. We have also taken notes with concern of the continued disobedience of court orders and denial of adequate resources to the judiciary to be able to undertake our work. And we urge Kenyans to continue supporting the independence of the judiciary.
Far from an affront to judicial independence, Martha Koome notes with concern that courts are faced with inadequate resources from the exchequer, with only half of the resources requested allocated to the judiciary.
We had requested for 43 billion according to the needs of the judiciary. Human resource capacity, the number of judges, magistrates and staff who can be able to serve Kenya all over, the infrastructure development and other tools that we require to serve Kenyans. We had requested for 43 billion, but we were able to get 20 billion. And that shortage persists.
The acute funding, Koome argues, has affected justice delivery and is causing a huge backlog of cases across the country.
The superior courts will endeavor to accord priority to time-sensitive cases to ensure their conclusion in a timeous manner.
While addressing the perception of deep-rooted corruption in the judiciary, CJ Koome has urged a structured way of addressing concerns touching on the judiciary, instead of attacking the entire justice system. She notes, however, judiciary has addressed cases of corruption.
We have also addressed the issue of the fight against corruption and how we can enhance our accountability and seamless service delivery. In this, we want to restate that the judiciary abhors corruption in all its forms and is committed to promote and enforce the principle of zero tolerance to corruption.
Henry Tendanyula, Lookuptv.
Now, post-mortem exercise conducted on the body of marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum has revealed that he died from severe head trauma. Addressing the media, government pathologist Johansen Odwor noted that the extensive skull fractures were caused by the fatal car crash along the Elgeyo-Marakwet Ravine Road 10 days ago.
Following allegations of possible foul play in the death of marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum, government pathologist Johansen Odwor has disclosed that Kiptum died from severe head trauma consistent with the road accident.
I'm through with the postmortem of the body of the late Kelvin Kiptum. So upon doing the postmortem, the finding was as follows. First of all, what we found that the late Kelvin had severe head injuries. There were severe skull fractures, which were mainly at the base of the skull. The spinal cord had intruded into the cranial cavity because of the fractures. Further to that, there were some fractures on the ribs, both sides. On the left side, the first, second, and third rib were fractured, and on the right side, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh ribs were fractured. There are also what is called contusions on the lungs, meaning that there were also injuries to the lungs. So what actually killed the late Kelvin was severe head injuries, which when I look at them, they look more of something which caused by a motor vehicle accident.
Dr. Dwar further added that biological samples have been collected from the deceased for further analysis to determine whether any external factors played a role in the demise of Kiptum.
We've taken samples for further analysis because the circumstance of the death is still being investigated. So there are some samples will be taken which will undergo what is called a full toxicological analysis. So you can see that whether there was anything that could have contributed to is being involved in the motor vehicle accident. What we are doing is to do what is called toxicological analysis, being that this is a person who was driving, then suddenly he got an accident and passed on. So our question is, what could have contributed to this? Was there something in the system which could have contributed to this? That's why we've taken samples for further analysis.
On the other side, the family of Kiptum has expressed satisfaction with the results of the autopsy, as star athlete Kiptum is said to be accorded a state funeral on Friday that will be attended by President William Ruto.
Sisi kama familia tumeridhika na the process of postmortem. I have witnessed the whole process. We started at 11 and tumemaliza at 13:40. Then we are waiting for the samples that they have said they will be taken for analysis, and we are okay with the process of postmortem.
The renowned athlete died in a tragic road accident about 2 weeks ago along the Doris Ravine Road. George Kayesi, Lookuptv.
On to the affordable housing program now, and Kenyans might yet again start parting with 1.5% of their income for the affordable housing program starting next month. This follows amendments made to the affordable housing bill to ensure it conforms to the law. This follows the ruling by the court that halted the deductions, citing failure to adhere to several articles of the Kenyan Constitution.
Despite the courts halting the collection of the housing levy in what was a reprieve for millions of Kenyans, the contributions to the affordable housing program are set to resume as from next month. These follows amendments made to the affordable housing bill, tabled by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, with 141 MPs voting for the bill yesterday. After the amendments, all Kenyans with income, whether in formal or informal sectors, are set to part with a portion of their income to facilitate the housing project, as opposed to how it has been before, where only Kenyans in the formal sector saw their salaries deducted. In their ruling on November 8, 2023, Justices David Majanja, Christine Miele, and Lawrence Mugambi found the imposition of the housing levy unfair, discriminatory, and irrational, saying informal income earners are excluded in supporting the national housing policy. It is all smiles for President William Ruto, with the government set to collect more than the current 63 billion shillings, with more Kenyans set to contribute to the affordable housing program. The bill also provides a legal framework for the establishment of the Affordable Housing Fund, access to affordable housing, and in particular gives effect to Article 43 of the Kenyan Constitution on the right to adequate housing, with the deductions set to resume as from next month after the amendments are made and the bill forwarded to the Senate. The opposition has continued to oppose the bill, noting that it was an additional burden to Kenyans, especially those in the Jua Kali sector. Additionally, the opposition has raised concerns on the ownership of those affordable houses, casting aspersions as to whether Kenyans in the lowest cadre of life will eventually own a house. President William Ruto has time and again reiterated that the housing program aims to not only solve the housing puzzle, but also create employment for the millions of unemployed youth. Ian Kitane, Lookuptv.
It is a bit controversial because if those in the informal sector are supposed to contribute to this particular program, there is no clear mechanism that describes, rather tells how that deduction will be made and how they'll be able to determine the amount you have for them to take the 1.5%. And just so you know, the bill has sailed through the third reading in the National Assembly, and it is expected to be now forwarded to the Senate for the first reading, as the Kenya Kwanza government races to beat the deadline that they say they want the bill to be effective from March, meaning from March, if that particular bill sails through the Senate, which most likely it will, then from March, you'll be parting ways with 1.5% of your salary. Now, that particular story takes us to a first break. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Tere, mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Muka we msee. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya, lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time, hata angalia barabara. Msanii dereva tusimame. Wewe dereva wewe. Mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitapeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa twende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Oh, thank you very much for staying with us. On to the very important sector of agriculture now, and at least 40 counties have received the government subsidized fertilizer as the exercise enters phase 2. That is according to Agriculture PS Paul Rono. Appearing before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Agriculture, PS Rono noted that soon an irrigation project in the Asal region is set to begin in a bid to ensure food security.
So in other words, we are joking. We are not serious. As a country, we are not serious. If we don't fund agriculture, we can as well forget about development. We can forget about cost reduction, cost of living. We can forget about creating jobs. We can forget about many things.
Just after the government launched the second phase of fertilizer subsidies distribution, promising to address major problems encountered in the first phase of distribution last year, Ministry of Agriculture, led by Irrigation Permanent Secretary Paul Rono, while appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Agriculture, announced that approximately 40 counties have already received subsidies.
A program which we have distributed money, 172 million to the benefiting counties, each of the counties, and 142 million are for capacity building. So I'm just putting that, and then 30 million somehow is for real program.
PS Rono further noted that the irrigation project, especially in arid and semi-arid areas, is set to commence soon.
Millions to assist us to have tangible programs on the ground. We will not survive in agriculture without water, without seeds. You know, those are things which matters. Roads in some areas you cannot pass. So instead of you have heard about the capacity building, you will see some shaping, so that as a committee also you have tangible programs on the ground.
On the other hand, the committee sought answers on why the ministry failed to meet targets of the budget allocation for the financial year 2022-2023, with bills that it could not account for.
Your target for
2022-23, in terms of crop insurance, was 200,000 farmers. You only achieved 48,706. Those are the ones that were reached. And the funding, the amount of money that you spent was 129 million. So you are asking for 200, you have reached less than a half, and you have used more than half of the money.
The committee now wants the ministry to also account for the unutilized funds allocated in the budget.
For these things, like Kwelea and dealing with all those things when it happens, because these are allocations that are only invoked, whose expense is only invoked when there's an occurrence. And I remember we sat last year and did the BPS, and there was an allocation for Kwelea and all those army worms and everything. And where do you reallocate the money to when it is not absorbed?
Mevin Getembe, Lookuptv.
Thank you very much, Mevin Getembe, for that particular story. Moving forward, a middle-aged woman in Nakuru is calling on well-wishers to come to her aid after she was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, a type of blood cancer, and has been unable to seek medication due to lack of funds. Faith Charles tells us the following story.
It has not been the same for Beatrice Afande, a 31-year-old single mother who was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia since last year February, a type of cancer that aggressively affects the blood. Afande used pain reliever tablets thinking it was just a normal discomfort, only for her to visit Nakuru Level 5 Teaching and Referral Hospital and discover she was suffering from leukemia. Jane Wangoi, her closest neighbor, narrates the challenges she faces taking care of Afande and her family.
Inaitwa Jane Wangoi na tunaishi hapa Broti na huyu mama na watoto wake. Sasa tunakaa na hawa watoto, sisi ndio tunawapeanga chakula. Kile mtu anapika anawaletea. Hata majirani hawa wengine wako next wanawaletea. Sasa si unajua sasa mama siku nyingine akatuma mtoto wake akamweleza aenda ueleze mama Mburu akuje. Mimi nikukufa ninakufa. Enyewe nikaenda. Saidi nimkuta hapo kwa kitanda akanieleza yeye amelemeo kabisa. Mdomo ilikuwa white kabisa. Macho ilikuwa imeenda ndani. Mimi nikakimbia huko kwa ule MCA. Nikakuta hawa wanakuanga ofisi. Nikawaeleza mimi ni mgonjwa na ninataka mtipatie chakula na mtipeleke hosi. Wakanieleza wewe ni mgonjwa wapi? Nikamueleza kama huyo msichana ni kama wangu. Kama amegojeka ni mimi nimegojeka. Nimejifarisa hiyo kiatu.
Ngui says that it has been 2 years now ever since Beatrice languished in misery and poverty due to lack of funds to get for her house and medical bills and even fees for her son, who due to her mother's condition was unable to join Naivasha Boys High School even after scoring 308 in his KCPE examination, something that saddens him every time he sees his mother suffering.
Saida nilikuta chifu nikamueleza hivyo. Chifu akanieleza sasa wasa nitumane watu wa nyumba 10 wakuja mshukuru mpeleke hosi. Sasa tuongeage mambo mengine hosi. Sasa chifu akapeana pesa akapeleka hosi. Hata mama mwingine yuko hapo ndio alimfarisa mangoji alikuwa.
Who is now appealing to well-wishers, friends and the government to intervene to ensure that Beatrice begins her medical treatment and her children are taken care of.
Mimi kile inaomba kwa huyu mama ni mumsaidie. Mumsaidie hata mpepo hapari ya kukaa. Akuwa akilipio nyumba hata mtiona kaburosi mnunulie. Jie sasa atakuwa akilipangio na nani?
Charles, Lookuptv.
Quite a sad story, and it paints a picture of why we need to, of course, put much emphasis on matters healthcare here in the country. Crossing over to Bungoma, and Bungoma Senator Wafula Wakoli has called on the government to hold a dialogue with victims of demolitions within the county. Wakoli urged the government to offer alternative premises for the traders said to be sitting on government land, as Onesmus Musenyo now reports.
Victims of the continued demolitions in Bungoma County have called on the county and national governments to make clear of their fate once the evictions are done.
Kama buildings ambazo zimeangushwa zimepitishwa kupitia na serikali ya county. Kwa hivyo wakati ambapo tena mnakuja kuangusha hizi nyumba tunashangaa ya kwamba kwa nini mnaangusha nyumba ambazo nyinyi wenyewe mumepitisha hiyo building plan na sasa mnakuja kuiangusha.
In a meeting held in Kandui,
They lamented the sudden demolition that are putting their businesses in jeopardy. In support, religious leaders have urged the county government to give the victim an alternative place, majorly because it's their source of income.
Haswa sisi Waislamu, mwezi wa 3 ambao unakuja huu, tutakuwa katika mwezi wetu wa kufunga. Na kuna mahala ambapo kwamba huwa tunategemea sisi wakfu ilijengwa kusaidia watu kupata chakula chao, maimams kupata chakula chao cha kufuturu katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani. Tumeshangaa vile imebomolewa, na pia hatujenda kwa shamba ya mtu, amebomoa shamba yetu, ametudhulumu.
Senator Wakoli further said that he will table their grievances to the Senate, promising to organize a meeting with leaders in the county to highlight the issue.
Tunahuzunika sana kwamba mimi kama senator nimejitokeza kuhakikisha kwamba tunaleta viongozi wote wahusika ili tuwasikize watu hawa, wanabiashara hawa, watu wa Bungoma, na tuweze kuzungumza kwa sauti moja yale ambayo tunataka yatekelezwe na yatekelezwe kivipi, kwa sababu hakuna mtu anapinga maendeleo.
Msonye Onesmus, Lookuptv.
2 people have been arrested in Kirinyaga County for distributing water that is illegally connected in a crackdown conducted by Kirinyaga Water and Sanitation Company in collaboration with police officers from the Water Protection Unit. The arrests were made after a tip from the water company, which complained of sharp losses.
In a crackdown to tackle water cartels in the Mount Kenya region, 2 people were arrested on Wednesday by officials from the Kirinyaga County Water and Sanitation Department and police officers from Water Protection Unit for illegal water connections. Chief Officer of the Water Department, Peter Murimi, visiting the area where the water is distributed, emphasized the need for residents to pay their water bills instead of using illegal ways to get water.
What we want to urge the public, let us ensure we drink water the right way. And drinking the water the right way is whereby you go to the company, and when you go to the company, there is a process of registering. When you register, after that, you are issued with a meter so that your water is connected.
The manager of Kirinyaga Water Company, Ephantus Maina, also said that 48% of water is lost due to theft and illegal connection, where the company loses more than 150 million each year.
There are incidences where even our staff have colluded with members of public to connect water illegally to our customers. And for those staff who have been involved in this and we have caught them, we have actually separated with those staffs because this is a gross misconduct.
John Kamau, who led the operation, further warned the residents against violating the water regulations, saying that they will continue with the operation and those found guilty will be arrested and prosecuted.
Kazi hii ya kuenforce sheria za maji ni ya kusaidia mwananchi na kusaidia kampuni za maji.
Ebi Kadinyi, Lookuptv.
Time to get sporty now. The men and women national cricket teams are gearing up for the upcoming Africa Cricket Championship next month in Accra, Ghana. As both teams finalize preparations, a concern has been raised about poor infrastructure that may limit the team from achieving great results, as Robert Chacha now reports.
The Kenya cricket teams, both men and women, are undertaking intense training at Ruaraka Sports Club for the upcoming African Games that will be held in Kumasi, Accra, in Ghana from 8th to 23rd next month. According to the players, they are honored to present their country for the first time in African Games and they are positive of good performance.
Maandalizi bora compared to the other tournaments. Tumekuwa na mashindano mbalimbali tukicheza na wanaume na tunaamini whatever tumefanya tutaenda ku-execute. To support kwa sababu cricket ya wasichana ijakuwa ikisupportiwa hivyo sana kama ya wanaume, bali tunaomba kusupportiwa tu.
The players are however urging the government and other well-wishers to support them in terms of facilities including training kits and playing grounds.
To really look into the cricket perspective because we really have a lot of talent in this country. The only reason we are missing out is because we as youngsters are not getting a platform. we do not see a future in the sport. If the government can come up, if the sponsors can come up, have great facilities in almost every club, have a good facility in the training camps as well, have the normal technical bench to increase, where we have 5 to 6 people who we can work with. I think it's going to make a very big difference, because like I said, lack of facility is really pushing us behind. Yeah, and the love for the sport, we've seen it in a lot of tournaments.
According to assistant coach Joseph Wangara, the team has been in the camp for more than a month and they are going to tackle each game at a time.
Na fitness program yetu kuandaa wachezaji mwili yao ikuwe tayari kwa mchezo huu, na tumefanya vizuri. Kwa hivi sasa tumeanza na michezo ile kujiandaa, ile tunaangalia wachezaji gani tunaweza chukua na wachezaji gani tunaweza acha. Ya kwanza, kila game ni muhimu sana kwetu. Kwa hivyo tudharau mtu yoyote. Kila game tunataka kuchukua kwa umuhimu wake, ndio kwa sababu tumeleta ama professionals wale wanacheza hapa pia watusaidie.
The teams have also been participating in major tournaments, which has given them a chance to rectify the weaknesses going into the competition. The cricket game has been included for the first time in all African Games, and Kenya is in the same group with Uganda, South Africa, and host Ghana. Robert Chacha Wambura, Lookup Sports.
To the Magical Kenya Open now, the Kenyan company has announced that it will sponsor Kenyan amateur golfer Michael Karanga in the upcoming Magical Kenya Open, which kicks off tomorrow at the Muthaiga Golf Club. The Magical Kenya Open serves as a premier global stage where golfers from across the globe converge to exhibit their talents and compete for the top prize.
And globally, you can think you are the best in Kenya, but if you go outside, you meet those pros. The problem is in Kenya, when the Kenya Open comes, you find it is the only tournament that you are competing against the best of the best in the world.
Worth noting that I'll be rooting for Njoroge Kibugu, the 20-year-old sensation at the Magical Kenya Open that, like you've heard, will be kicking off tomorrow. Until then, that is all the stories that we had for you. Remember, today, the Champions League continues. Arsenal will be playing against Porto in Portugal, with Napoli playing against Barcelona in what has been dubbed as a Maradona derby. They'll be racing against them to, of course, go and watch Arsenal being humbled in a competition that they're fairly not familiar with. Like I said, Champions League is all about pedigree, something that Arsenal lack. On that note, I wrap up this bulletin. See you again tomorrow. Do have yourself a wonderful night. And like always, God bless.